Good morning, everyone. Today I just wanted to start the travel series that I had talked about doing before. Earlier this year I had the opportunity to go to New York City, and I just wanted to let you know about some of the sites and some places that are fun to visit, or places that you may not have heard of, because they're not on the beaten track, so to speak. So I guess without any further ado, I will just jump in. The first place is on the northern tip of Manhattan. It's called Inwood Hill Park. I believe it was where New York City, particularly the Irish and the Free Americans started fighting for their independence. I know the history of America is the Irish that immigrated here weren't treated particularly well, and there's some history to that area that speaks to that. There were a lot of Irish gangs in that area. And eventually it developed into a park, and it's no longer residential, it's just a park now, but there are some signs of the community that used to exist there. There are paved roadways that are still within the middle of the park, and there's lampposts within the middle of the park. And if you have the opportunity, keep an eye out for there are rangers that do a tour of the park, and just keep an eye out for that, and you can learn a lot about the history, about the Lenape. Those are the Native Americans that used to live in the area, and yeah, like I said, about the tenuous history between the Irish and the Free Americans. All right, let's move on to the second park. This one is on, I believe it's the southern tip of Staten Island. This one is called Conference House Park. It's not one that you'll go to if you're just going as a tourist. They're trying to make it more of a tourist destination, but it's not to the point where it's attracting a lot of tourists yet. I think that's mainly because it's not very well known. I had the opportunity to go because I went with school, and we got a tour of it. There's a lot of history there. There's a lot of buildings that were used for negotiations during the Civil War, and a lot of important people from around then had lived in houses on the waterfront in that area at that time. And I believe a lot of they had said that a lot of movies were filmed on the beaches there. Unfortunately, a lot of them don't clean up after themselves, so the beach can get pretty messy, unfortunately. But it is a nice park with some pretty interesting geographical stuff going on with the landscapes. They've got something called blue belts, which are helping to preserve the natural environment through kind of incorporating parkland and city developments with wetlands and trying to preserve natural habitats within the city limits. Conference House Park has also been at one time they were looking in that area. They were looking at developing roadways, and especially like on the beachfront, because Staten Island is very suburban. I guess they were looking at extending it out to the beach itself, but ultimately that plan failed, and there are still signs of where they had built the roads. Like right on the beachfront, you can see concrete, and it actually looks like the project was abandoned because of what the concrete, what the roads look like, and what the beach looks like. And the last one I wanted to talk about was the meatpacking district. The meatpacking district has a really cool history because it was a warehouse district, meatpacking primarily, meatpacking plants, but it moved on from that, and now in the more industrial area, the post-industrial era, it's a lot of those places are either being turned into tourist destinations or housing. The old railroad, actually, the I don't know what they would have called the railroad, but it ran on tracks that were suspended in the air. They actually turned the entire railroad into a park, and they kept the railroad tracks, and they planted gardens throughout it all, and it just looks really nice. And I believe they said that there are speaker systems built into the park itself, because it is on concrete. It had a structure that they could use for that. They built fiber optics into it, and so bands can play in the park without having to lug equipment around. Also in that area was a really great pub that I got to go to called Death Avenue Pub. Death Avenue was the road where there was a train that went through the middle of the road, and unfortunately a lot of people died because there wasn't sufficient warning of the train, and so people got ran over. Eventually that gave birth to the horseback riders who'd ride in front of the train to warn people of the train, that the train was coming. They became known as the Death Avenue Cowboys. But anyway, Death Avenue Pub is along that road. I forget the number of the road, but it's like right in the middle of the meatpacking district. Death Avenue Pub has some of the best scotch I've ever had. Yeah, it's expensive, but for the overall aesthetic of the place, and the ambiance, and the quality of, particularly the drinks, the food. The food was good too. It's just the portions weren't that big for the price we're paying. I guess because of how popular it is, or because of just the kind of place it is. They could do that kind of thing. It can do that. But anyway, that's all I wanted to talk about today. I'm planning on doing a series on New York City starting today, so I will. I'll stop there, and I will see you all tomorrow.